We're partnering with Silent No Longer Tennessee, and we're hosting Shadows Ignited on February 19th. If we look at this through the lens of this parable, we get to play the part of the partygoers, invited to celebrate something lost being found. We get to bear witness and proclaim to our neighbors that we are bearing witness to people using various art forms to show that they are not just victims. They're not just lost. They're survivors, and they are found. I want you to hear from Greta and her own story of being lost and how she was found.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor Beth. I appreciate you inviting me to speak today. And I thank all of y'all for your willingness to listen to me. I served as a police officer here in Nashville for 12 years before working for a couple of area nonprofits where I worked as a victims of crime coordinator, support group facilitator, and an advocate. And during that particular time, I was often asked why the church doesn't talk about sexual violence. And to be honest with you, I never had an answer. But I do believe that the Honorable John Lewis made an excellent case for talking about injustices when he said, quote, "The civil rights movement was based on faith, and we saw it as an extension of our faith, as doing the work of the Almighty," end quote. Now, I will admit, although the basis or the roots of the Me Too movement is different, I still feel that it is based in faith, at least somewhat, because it does try to shed light on the epidemic of sexual violence while also looking to find people and bring them back, and also to help find justice. We are all children of God. We are beloved by Him, made in His image, and other than murder, I personally cannot think of anything that could be more offensive to God than seeing the body of one of His children violently violated. And as Nancy mentioned a few minutes ago, we are called and we are chosen to witness God's dream of justice and of joy. And as God's children, we're called to help bring that dream to life, to help find the lost sheep, the wandering child, to bring them back after they've been lost in pain, and then to celebrate and rejoice when they return home and when they begin to find healing. I think probably Rachel Held Evans said it best when she said, quote, "The church is called to the long and difficult work of healing." And that's why I believe that there is no better place for us to talk about injustices than within our faith communities, and absolutely no better place to find hope and that healing that we long for than with our church families. And that's why I'm here today, to talk about how God's hand can be found sometimes in the most unexpected places, and how talking about injustices can help a lost sheep find her way home. In June of 2017, I stopped by a truck stop to use the restroom, grab something to eat, and I'd gotten maybe 7-10 feet away from my car when I felt somebody grab me and shove me against the hood of the car. Now, I left the police department in 2000, so obviously it had been quite a while since I'd had to use defensive tactics, but when I was on the job, I could hold my own, I could defend myself. And I never thought that a lack of practice or even age would prevent me from defending myself if I had to. But unfortunately, I was wrong. After I was sexually assaulted, I drove as far away as I possibly could till I found at least, or felt at least somewhat safe, and I started processing what had just happened to me. And as a former police officer, it didn't matter how long it had been since I'd been on the job, I felt like I should have done more. I felt like I should have been able to fight him off. that I should have been more aware, that I should have somehow sensed something could happen. Intellectually, I knew that the only person to blame for my attack was my attacker, but at that particular point, intellect had gone out the window with trauma and shock. So I did what a lot of victims do. I blamed myself. And I was absolutely terrified that others would blame me too. Or worse, that they just wouldn't believe me. It had never occurred to me that a police officer could be raped. I mean, police officers protect and serve. Police officers protect people, keep people from being raped. They aren't raped themselves. That's where my mind was at the moment. And I figured if I didn't believe it could happen, why would anyone believe me? So decided to keep it a secret. Making excuses for my black eye, for busted lip, bruises on my wrist, and even tried to pretend that it didn't happen. But we all know that ignoring problems don't make them go away. All that I managed to accomplish was to spiral into a very dark and very deep depression. Depression that led me to pray every single night that God would alleviate my pain by allowing me to die in my sleep, and crying every single morning when I saw the sunrise. And after about 3 months of this, I decided God doesn't care. He's abandoned me. He's not going to answer my prayer. So I've got to find something else to do. And that's when I decided exactly how I was going to end my life. Started writing my goodbye letters, and I got through all of them just fine until the very last letter. In that last letter, the harder I tried to find the right words, the more difficult the words became. So I finally just set it aside, thinking, clear my head, take a break, the words will come. And probably 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes, I'm not sure, later, I realized that I was scrolling through my Facebook page. I don't remember picking up my phone. I don't remember logging into Facebook. There I was, and there was this hashtag. Y'all can probably figure out what hashtag that was. I kept seeing friend after friend after friend posting me too. And I had no idea at that time what it meant. I hadn't been on social media. I hadn't watched television, hadn't even listened to the radio in days. But once I finally figured out what it meant, I was struck by how many people that I knew personally, how many friends had gone through something at least somewhat similar to what I had, and found the courage to keep going. I was most definitely a lost sheep. I definitely felt like I was damaged beyond repair. I felt like I didn't need to be found. Thankfully, God thought differently. He went out and he found me. And he brought me back by giving me people and for giving me a glimmer of hope through those people at the exact time that I needed it. People who were courageous enough to say me too in a very public manner. And that literally saved my life. And when I thought about that, I figured I can at least try to keep going. Taking it day by day, minute by minute, if that's what it takes, but I'm going to continue to try to keep going. And it's gotten a lot easier, but on days when I struggle, I remind myself that God put those people in front of me for a reason. As Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us, God knows the plans that he has for us. And he knew the plan that he had for me. His plan was to bless me with the opportunity to give meaning and purpose to my pain. And I am forever grateful for that opportunity. So if you don't remember anything that I said today, please remember that no matter how lost we may feel, no matter how hopeless we may feel, no matter how broken we may feel, God does not abandon us. He does not give up on us, and he will search for us always, and that he will bring us back. And we also need to remember that no matter what we've been through or what we've done, that we are all worth celebrating. Thank you.